Have you ever stood at the edge of a choice that could change your life forever? This is the story of a woman who thought she was invisible in her own marriage until an unexpected connection at an old cabin forced her to confront everything she'd been running from. As you listen, imagine the sound of rain on the roof, a fire crackling, and a dog lying at her feet. This isn't just about betrayal or temptation. It's about finding the courage to face yourself. Stay with me until the end, because what she chooses will surprise you, and the lesson hidden in her story may change the way you see your own relationships. When my husband leaves for his business trips, it's always the same ritual. I stand in the doorway, smile at him, wave goodbye, and watch the wheels of his suitcase roll down the hall until the sound fades. Then, as soon as the front door closes, I exhale a breath I didn't know I was holding. I pack my overnight bag, call for Jack, my golden retriever and the truest companion I've ever had, and we drive straight to the cabin. The road is narrow and lined with pines. By the time we pull into the gravel driveway, the world already feels lighter. The cabin isn't glamorous, cedar walls, old books, mismatched mugs, but it smells like freedom, like the version of myself that exists when no one's looking. Jack trots through the rooms as if he knows it's our sanctuary. He's grayer now, slower than he used to be, but still sharp, still steady. His presence anchors me in ways words can't. In the silence of the cabin, I don't have to pretend to be the perfect wife or the always understanding partner. I can just be me. Morning at the cabin moves like honey. Coffee on the porch. Mist over the trees. Birdsong instead of alarms. Jack sprawled at my feet. Sometimes I journal, sometimes I stare at the woods and let the quiet hold me. In that stillness, I start to remember myself. The self who once had dreams, who once felt sure of her own worth. My husband and I speak less these days. His trips stretch longer, his texts come slower. I don't ask where he is or why he's gone so much. Part of me doesn't want the answers. So I keep the house clean, smile at the right times, and slip away to the cabin whenever I can. That's where Aiden entered the story. Aiden is in his early 30s, the son of the neighbors who own the property nearby. He stops by to check on things when his parents aren't around. The first time, it was to fix a leaky faucet. Another time, to deliver firewood. Over time, it became routine. He'd knock softly, Jack would perk up, and I'd open the door to find him standing there with a gentle smile. He never asked too many questions. He never pried. He'd stack wood or repair a step on the porch, and sometimes we'd share coffee afterward. He once brought banana bread his mother had baked. Another time, he remembered exactly how I liked my coffee without my ever telling him. Little kindnesses. Small gestures. Jack adored him, which meant something. Dogs can sense things: truth, gentleness, intention. Aiden never stayed long, but when he did, the air felt different. Not loud, not charged, just present. Safe. Over time, I noticed the small shifts. The way his eyes lingered a second longer. The way I brushed my hair before he came by, or reached for an old cardigan I hadn't worn in years. I told myself it was nothing. But inside, something began to ache, the ache of being seen. I started thinking about what I'd lost, not just intimacy in my marriage, but recognition. To be looked at and truly noticed. To have someone remember the smallest details. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't a plan. It was human. Then came the storm. Rain started soft in the afternoon, a steady tapping on the tin roof. By dusk, the power flickered and went out. I lit candles, the flames throwing shadows across the walls. Jack curled up by the fireplace. The whole cabin felt like it was holding its breath. Then there was a knock. Aiden stood in the doorway, drenched from the storm, holding a bag of kindling. "Didn't want you to be alone out here," he said. I handed him a towel. He dried his hair, his jacket, his hands. We sat by the fire, each with a mug of tea, closer than usual, but still apart. The air shifted, quiet, but charged with unspoken things. Jack got up, crossed the room, and placed his head in my lap. eyes steady on mine as if to say, I see this. Be careful. That night, I barely slept. The storm passed, but the heaviness stayed. I walked Jack deep into the foggy woods the next morning, trying to outrun the feeling. When I returned, there was a text from Aiden. Brought firewood. Left it by the shed. Hope you're warm. I typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed again. Deleted that too. For the next day, I kept myself busy with meaningless tasks, scrubbing already clean counters, rearranging books, pretending to scroll my phone, anything to drown out my own thoughts. But avoidance doesn't erase truth. At sunset, Aiden knocked again. His voice was gentle but steady. Did I do something wrong? You've been distant. I mumbled something about being tired, about the weather. He nodded, stepped back into the fading light, and left. I closed the door and pressed my back against it. My heartbeat thudded against my ribs. Jack sat beside me, ears twitching, watchful. That night, by the fire, I realized it wasn't about Aiden at all. It was about the version of me that surfaced when someone treated me as though I mattered. It was about the mirror his presence held up to my own loneliness. On the third evening, Aiden came back. This time there was no storm, only a single candle between us. He sat across from me, hands clasped. I think about you more than I should, he said quietly. His voice cracked, not bold, not manipulative, just honest. I stared at my hands. I think about you too. The words felt like stones tumbling out. But I also think about everything that would break if we crossed that line. The room went silent. Jack lifted his head and looked at me, then at Aiden, then back at me. No bark. No growl. Just a steady gaze. Aiden leaned forward slightly, not to touch me, but to hold my eyes. In that moment, I saw everything: desire, sorrow, understanding. We stayed there, suspended, our silence heavier than any confession. I wanted to be someone else, someone free to start over. But I wasn't. I was me, a woman with a gold band on her hand and a dog at her feet reminding her what loyalty looks like. At dawn, I packed my bag, washed the mugs, folded the blanket we'd sat under. The sky outside was pale and undecided. I loaded Jack into the car and closed the cabin door behind us. As we drove back toward town, the road curved through the trees. Jack rested his head on the window, eyes half closed. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I thought about how easy it is to drift, how loneliness can become a current that pulls you farther than you intended to go. I thought about Aiden's kindness and my husband's distance. I thought about the cabin and the version of me who still exists there, waiting for me to come back. And then I made a quiet promise. To stop disappearing from my own life. To stop waiting for someone else to see me before I see myself. To remember that longing isn't always love. To remember that boundaries aren't punishment, they're protection. When I reached home, the air felt different. Heavier, but also clearer. My husband's suitcase was still gone, his shirts still absent from the closet, but I felt a shift inside me, a small ember of resolve. I don't know what will happen next, but I know this. The cabin taught me that I'm still here, that I still feel, that I still deserve to be seen. And that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is not to cross a line, but to stand in your own space and hold it, even when it's hard. Jack followed me inside and curled up at my feet. I sat down beside him, stroking his fur, and whispered, "We're okay." And for the first time in a long time, I almost believed it. When I left that cabin, I wasn't the same person who had arrived. I hadn't crossed any forbidden line, but I had discovered something far more important, my own worth. Sometimes life doesn't hand us easy answers. Sometimes the bravest choice is to stop running and start standing in our own truth. If this story touched something inside you, tell me in the comments. What would you have done if you were in my place? Would you have stayed at the cabin or gone back home? Your stories and thoughts matter. They remind us we're not alone. And if you want more real, raw, emotional journeys like this, make sure to hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, take care of your heart, and remember, sometimes the quietest places teach us the loudest lessons.